Welcome to Turning Inward. Our intention today is to open your heart and nurture your spirit as you travel on the road without miles, moving inward on your epic and personal journey of self-discovery. I am Rebecca Polvey, your co-host, and I'm here with Dr. Vivian Carrasco. This is the third episode of our winter 2015 season. We are excited to continue to share concepts from love being human with you and grateful that you are here with us. Today, we'll be exploring the concept of trust together.
This podcast offers you the opportunity to explore new perspectives through compelling interviews with beautiful human beings and words of wisdom and love. This show was created to guide and inspire you. If you're looking for more meaning in your day-to-day life, if you're looking to be wowed by everyday people, if you're on a journey to joy, peace of mind, freedom, or a wild new adventure, then honey, you are in the right place. Welcome to Turning Inward with Dr. Vivian.
Hello, Rebecca.
Hi, Vivian. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much.
Oh, great. I'm good too. Nice to talk with you again today. And I have four kind of interesting questions that I've been working on for you. So I'm curious to see what kind of responses you'll have. And I'm going to start with the first one. This came into my mind, and it's, do you feel that trust is developed by repeatedly demonstrating that one acts in a mutual interest rather than selfish? For an example, let's say you have an opportunity to act selfishly, but instead, by your actions, that you demonstrate you act in mutual interest. Is that what you would consider developing trust?
Yes, and let me, there are two things that stood out for me. The first one is selfish. I believe that we should be selfish. I think we can be selfish by knowing and pinpointing exactly what it is we want. When we don't know what we want, then we can't find that mutual interest. When we are very clear on what direction we're going in, what it is we're moving towards, then we can find that taproot that feeds the whole being, the whole family, like a cedar tree. Over the winter break, I learned that cedar trees, those really beautiful white tall trees, actually marry their roots together so that they share in the sunshine. And when there's a drought or where there's a dry spell, they're the first trees to come up because they're doing exactly that. They're sharing. But when we don't know what we want, then I find that in myself, and what I see often in human beings is that they start to point their finger at whatever outside person, place, or thing happens to be their point of dissatisfaction or focus as to, you're not, or this isn't, or it's not giving me what I need, when in reality, we haven't even figured out what we want and what we need. And so, yes, and yes. Did that give you...
It did. So maybe I kind of had a two-parter then. I guess maybe I could ask that one. How do we develop trust? Would it be true to say that trust is developed because you continuously deliver an expected outcome that could be maybe negative or positive?
I wrote down continuous because what I want to talk about first is develop. How do we develop trust? My focus is on my personal experience, your personal experience, the personal experience of you as the person listening to this podcast, and the effect and the outcome and the shift that will happen when you begin to figure that out for yourself. And I do this so many times a day, look outward for an answer. When the answer is already within me, all I have to do is get some space. Sometimes it takes a nap. Sometimes it takes a good cry. And yesterday, it just took total vegetation on the couch until Jacob started making me laugh. Laugh is my elixir. If someone can make me laugh, it just moves me so deeply. And so that's what I want to say first, is the development of this, the development of what you're looking for, that deeper, deeper desire of the true necessity that you're reaching for is within you. No one can give you that. I can't give you that. And anyone that says they can, I don't know that I would completely trust them. Because we have to develop, and I hear a lot about blueprints, solutions, secret formulas, all this stuff. And sometimes I get sucked into it, but I know what's right for me. I don't listen a lot of time, but I know what's right for me. And I think that's the work. That's the work, is to, take some time, some space, and make the effort to figure it out. And I actually play this game. I love doing things that are simple, not risky, but just a tiny bit scary. So if I'm sitting in a restaurant and I'm looking at the menu, this is something I actually do, and I actually recommend and work with other people to do. I ask myself, what do I want to eat today? And when I am clear in my preferences, it's like everything else has more clarity too. So I try to find these little things that we do on a day-to-day basis and, kind of practice there, because it's not so scary and it's not so risky. And, they're just really small bets that you can win. So that's the development of trust. And then I wrote down continuous. Continuous piqued my curiosity a little bit, because I think for me in relationships, I used to believe that it had to be continuous. It had to be consistent. It had to be every single time. I knew it was going to be a certain way. And it just isn't. It really just isn't. You want it to be. But I think in a loving relationship, you kind of see beyond that little slip up or that word or that look, and you see the intention and the essence of that person. And I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to use the example of you and I.
No, I don't mind. Go ahead.
I probably would have if you had said, no, I wouldn't have. If you had said, no, I don't want to share.
No, it's okay.
Earlier you sent me an email and you said, is there something wrong? And I thought, yes. There is. I don't want to waste your time. I value you so much, and I know that I'm not giving you what you need. And that was a really beautiful example of me not being continuous, but continuing to build that trust, if that makes sense.
It does. And I know I responded back with something that came to my heart, and I know we're going to talk about that. I think one thing I said in that was that I had a moment where it occurred to me that the trust we have developed in our working relationship together, I have learned to trust the outcome because I understand how you function. And I think of it more or less as a oneness, where we've been able to integrate kind of your personality into mine, or vice versa, however you want to look at it. And in the whole, we're one. But inside, we are complementing each other with our differences. So I just thought to myself, I wonder if that's being in the love being human process. And then the other thing I picked up when you were talking here about everything was the word genuine. And I think, for my part, I think it takes a certain level of awareness and courage to step out of your comfort zone and trust enough to dare that you're going to expose yourself to the unknown, to trust your wise inner voice or instinct that lets you know it's okay. And I think I heard you kind of say that, you can't fake being genuine. If you listen with your inner voice, you're going to feel whether something is right or wrong. And And can it be that that's where love being human comes in, that you learn to develop, notice, or maybe be more aware of those senses, Vivian?
Yes, definitely. I love it when this happens. I don't think I'm ever going to get, tired of that. Yeah, I love it when that happens. Yes, 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 and yes. I think you brought up a really critical point. Trusting that it's all going to be okay. Not just in this one email exchange, but in the wholeness of everything that is happening. Everything is going to be okay. Even if it's not okay right now, even if there's problems going on right now, or even if there's a struggle right now, everything is still going to be okay. Excuse me. And that trustness in all and in everything is such a critical skill and muscle to flex. And I think we just got to be there. We just have to practice being there. Like you said, that's part of the being, is this idea that the universe is kind and all-knowing and gentle, and it wants your best interest. It also wants my best interest. And it is working a million different ways to do that for both of us.
Oh, I agree. And I thought of something else while you were talking throughout this that came to me, and that's maybe it's a continuation on what I said previously, but I think love is like a oneness. That's the best word I can come up with. If you love a person, then you trust that person. Whether it's your friend, your husband, whoever, you trust that person to be one with you. And I don't mean that like in a romantic love, but rather a genuine emotional or spiritual love. And I think, to me, romantic love is maybe more that you want something, but genuine love is more that you have like a kindness and a desire to give rather than take. So let's...
And give without expectation.
Yes, absolutely. Without any expectations or demands placed on that love. That's when to me, it's not a selfishness.
It's grown-up love.
Yeah, grown-up love. That's what I was looking for. Grown-up love. Mm-hmm. And then I actually have a two-part question for you, baby. So I don't know if you want me to ask both, and I think you kind of touched on it, but maybe I'll just ask it directly. And that's, how would you say trust fits into the love being human process?
I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but trust and oneness are the same. And you talked about trust and love in a romantic context with someone you love, with another person or another being. Love being human really starts within ourselves. And so it's the wholeness and the oneness that we find when we move through this process for our own self. I came across a really, really disturbing statistic, and it honestly gave me more of an impetus to move forward with this. I will find the reference so that we can put it in the show notes. The show notes. But it's the World Organization. I think it's a 2013 statistic, but it said that suicide kills more people than all wars and all illnesses combined.
Oh, wow.
It moved me so deeply. Suicide. A killing of oneself. Because we're divided. Because we're at war inside of our own selves. And so trust and wholeness and oneness, moving towards just that simple understanding of what do I want? What do I need right now? What is going on inside of me as a being in this body, and then what can I give myself? How can I create a practice, a habit, a pattern of thought that'll give me space, that'll expand me, that'll open me up and help me lean forward with my heart, chest up in the air, shoulders pulled back. Because so often our posture moves inward. We hold ourselves, or we, are protecting ourselves, and we're disjointed. We're separated from everything. And our conversation started with this idea of oneness and wholeness. And that's why, and I didn't share this earlier when we talked, but when you sent me that email and you said, it's okay, I've learned to trust our relationship, it made me sobbingly cry. Because I was so grateful that you felt that you knew that you understood that I was coming across in that way. I want to protect your time. I want to give you, I value you. I value you and all the relationships near me just as much, if not more, than I value my own self. And when we meet at the root of all that, we are feeding our souls. And that takes a lot of work. It goes beyond personality. It takes that, idea of grown-up love. I'm looking at a picture of my adult children, and that's it was a really personal journey for me, and probably for you too, to find those times when maybe they were angry or they were upset, but all they really wanted was a hug, or you knew all they really wanted was a nap, back in the day.
Yeah, I do. I remember sometimes when my son was, a teenager, doing that teenager stuff, that I can remember sometimes, it just took all I had to take all I could do when he was maybe behaving at his worst, and just step up and put my arms around him and say, I love you. And that would just immediately make all the difference. And, I enjoy such a loving, close relationship with my son. And I think part of it was because I seemed to understand that there were times when I needed to just trust that he just needed to hear me say that I love you. I mean, and sometimes that was what he needed to hear.
And that's grown-up love.
I think you're right. I love this grown-up love word.
I just made it up.
You did?
That's where it came from.
That's so funny. And I guess I had one other thought, I think if you select to step into any relationship half-hearted, then it just feels to me that perhaps you're not giving your best to be successful in that relationship. Perhaps you could consider that you may have set it up not to work intentionally or unintentionally just because you're holding back. And maybe you're afraid, you don't dare to give your all because you're afraid to trust the outcome. Sometimes you have to go out on that limb.
That is so profound.
Thank you.
You are. Wow. I saw myself in those words, and I think the people listening will also see themselves, because I do that. And David will be the first to tell you I was really good at it. He used to tell me when we were young that he had this tiny chisel, and he was gonna just chisel away at my heart until he got through, because I did exactly that. He knew I wasn't wholeheartedly there. He knows when I'm wholeheartedly here. He senses it. It's like Christmas when I'm open and there fully. It's a beautiful, loving experience when two people are heart to heart. But when you know what that feels like, you also know what it's like when it's not happening. But when we were very, very much younger, early in our marriage, that was his analogy. And he would do a lot like what you said you'd do with your son. Give a hug when all he was doing was screaming and being at his worst. So David's tiny little chisel has, I'm going to give him credit for us being where we are now and for everything being the way that it is. Because every thing is connected. Everyone is together. And it's, the image that comes to mind for me is a ripple. As David had a dream recently, because he's also trying to understand love being human, just like you are and I am. What is this thing? What is it? What is it? What is it? How do we tell people about it? What does it look like? What color is it? Is it tall? Is it short? Let's make it real. And he had a dream and he opened his eyes and he told me, I understand. I was like, tell me then. I want to understand too. And he said, it's like a ripple. It's like a drop. And when that raindrop hits a still, piece of water or body, I don't remember exactly how he described it, it ripples outward.
Exactly.
And love being human is the initiation of ourself, the wholeness of one being, then impacting the broader world in every circle. I used to write a blog for the El Paso Times, and one of my first posts said, I impact people first in these four walls within my home, and then as far as I can reach, and then the broader community. And I think it's much, 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 much the same. This is an inward-outward effort versus an outward-inward, and that is a very distinctive shift. Because in my work, my previous work, my professional life, was in a term that the industry calls human capital. Like human beings are assets. Let me put them on a line item and let's grow them. And organizational development, the development, I don't even know how to describe it right now, but it was very much an outward inward. Let's do this in order to create that from the bigger strategic perspective, and then moving that inward to impact the being. This is a complete, opposite, turn tail, upside down. Start with the being. Start with the person that is listening to this, because you've made the choice to turn inward. You are now that drop. And this is your work. And only you know how to do it. And hopefully, Love Being Human is a framework that you can use to help guide you there, to help move you up into that action that is grown-up love. Now we have a real term.
Oh, Vivian, thank you. That was just a beautiful way of explaining it. And we also want to thank our audience very much for being with us here today. And if you enjoyed the conversation, we invite you to connect with us by joining our inner circle at viviancarrasco.com. And remember, move with purpose and take inspired action.
Thank you for joining us today here on Turning Inward with Dr. Vivian. If the show moved the needle for you, please leave an honest review in iTunes. And also make sure you cruise on over to viviancarrasco.com and join us for personal strategies and tips to help you move forward. Ciao, baby.